It is time to open up the Saturday season of season 5, or Saturday series of season 5. Jeez, that was botched. We are at Sepang in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Sepang International Circuit. This has been the home of Formula One from 1999 to 2017 for the F1 Malaysian GP. MotoGP still comes here, I do believe. I don't follow MotoGP super closely, I'm sorry. And a number of other notable series here. It's a pretty good track. Interesting combination of flowing turns with a couple of hard braking points and a lot of long straightaways. So you want to go low downforce, but there are some aspects of the track that demand a little bit of extra grip. So there's an interesting compromise there. Definitely some different characteristics of cars also are going to be a big part of this. But without further ado, let's talk about the races. Let's talk about the grid. Starting on pole position in the McLaren 650S is Caleb Gonzalez. Starting P2 is Alessio De Bonis in the RUF. Row 2 is Martin Lauer in his Audi R8 and Wesley Stokes in the Mercedes AMG. Row 3 is the Callaway C7 of Mark Labzul with BMW M6's Ben Schwarry. Interesting note, these two guys are teammates, although due to some snafus with the BMWs, Mark Labzul is in a Spitfire Racer McLaren or Callaway Corvette for this race instead of the BMW. Row 8, Dule Markovic in the Porsche 911, joined by Mark Minahan in the Audi R8 second generation. Row 5 is Mike Mark in the Callaway C7 and the Mercedes AMG of Rick Martel. Row 6 is Dean Reimers in the second generation Audi R8 and the Mercedes AMG of Michael Magasevich. And on the back of the pack, making its debut for the season, the Competition Zone P45 Ferrari sort of tuned car of Jeff Crozier, starting at the back of the pack for Copperhead's competition. Let's get rolling. And they are off, and it looks like a good start from Gonzalez, good start from De Bonis. Yeah, pretty good starts actually all around. Very mixed up heading into turn 1. This could be interesting. De Bonis seems to have a bit of a jump on Gonzalez. Could go around the outside here into turn 1. He's going to try, but the inside line should give this to Gonzalez. Third place is Martin Lauer in the Audi. Fourth place for Stokes in the Mercedes. Mark Labzul in the mix there, along with Dule Markovic, 5th and 6th place. So Gonzalez has gotten really away. De Bonis got hung out to dry and has now lost a spot to Lauer. He has Stokes on his tail for 4th place. 5th place is Mark Labzul, followed by Dule Markovic in 6th. And a little contact between Markovic and Klabzul. Both are off. Mike Mark is up to 5th place, so fantastic start for him as they head through the field. Klabzul rejoining at the back of the pack behind Jeff Crozier. So leading the way, it is Caleb Gonzalez from Martin Lauer. Alessio De Bonis is in 3rd, followed by Wesley Stokes. These four are making a little bit of a getaway. Mike Mark in 5th place, 6th place for Ben Schwarry, 7th place for Mark Minahan, who's had a pretty decent start to himself. Rick Martel is up to 8th place. 9th place was Dule Markovic, but he's losing a spot now to Mike Magasevich, so that's going to drop him back to 9th. 10th for Mark Klabzul. Now Dean Reimers 11th, 12th Crozier. Pardon me, I was a little bit off there. Crozier's in 13th place. This will be an 8-lap race around Sepang International Circuit. The McLaren 650 leading from the Audi, leading from the RUF, and leading from the Mercedes. 4 different makes in the top 4. 5 in the top, actually 6 in the top 6, as there's a Callaway and a BMW in 5th and 6th place. Then it is the first duplicate car, the Audi R8 of Mark Minahan. Then it's Mercedes of Martel, 8th place, 9th place for Magasevich, and 10th place for Markovic in the Porsche 911. 11th is Mark Klabzul in the Callaway, 12th for Dean Reimers, and 13th for Jeff Crozier in the competition zone car. Battle is on for 9th place between Mike Magasevich and Dule Markovic. Markovic, a little bit of contact with Mark Klabzul, which he got into the back of him. Might see some disciplinary action for that. Coming down with a hard torpedo move. Can he hold it? He does! And he gets 9th place with a diving move from the Porsche 911 of Dule Markovic for Artemis Sport. Fantastic move from the Serbian driver. At the front, it's still Gonzalez, who's getting away a little bit from Lauer, DeBonis, and Stokes. These four really are the guys to watch. Mike Mark is holding up a bit of a train. He's got Ben Schwari and Mark Minahan breathing down his neck in 5th, 6th, and 7th. Rick Martel is 8th, being chased down by Markovic. Magasevich rounding off the points-paying positions ahead of Mark Labzul, Dean Reimers, and Crozier. The top Silver Cup eligible driver at the moment is Dule Markovic. In 9th place, Mike Magasevich is also eligible, along with Klapzul, Reimers, and Crozier. Gonzalez still leading pretty confidently. Was battled a little bit with DeBonis, but DeBonis wound up getting hung out to dry and fell back to 3rd, and there's not really been an attack on Gonzalez since, though Lauer is still within striking distance, along with back to Wesley Stokes in 4th place. Mike Mark is still hanging on to 5th place, but you feel like Ben Schwari and probably Minahan are the faster drivers. And Mike Mark is leading a little bit of a truly train at the moment, but we will see if the 2 cars behind him can get around him. Markovic is lining up on Martel. We saw him go hard into turn 1 on Magasevich last lap. Will he do the same to Rick Martel? Let's ride on board. He is going down the inside, but it's not quite as much this time. And that Porsche has got turn 1 absolutely locked down because he claims another one. And moves into 8th place. One of the early favorites for the Silver Cup, Dule Markovic. Wesley Stokes has dropped off the back of the podium runners, so it's become a 3-horse race at the front. Gonzalez versus Lauer versus DeBonis. 2 independent entries along with the Dinamo Zagreb car of Lauer. Actually, DeBonis had a moment there and has fallen back into the clutches of Wesley Stokes. Stokes is putting the pressure on. That Mercedes has got a lot of grunt over the RUF, but the RUF does have a superior grip on most of these turns. So this section should favor the RUF and allow it to escape a little bit the Sox Racing RUF engineered car of Alessio DeBonis. And the Mike Mark train is definitely in full effect. Pressure is on from both Ben Schwari, the reigning champion, and Mark Minahan. Very wide! He holds it. The Spitfire Racing car versus the MWL Racing Group versus Gemini GT Racing for Minahan. In the background, the Artemis Sport car of Dule Markovic is also catching up. Not really sure if Martel and Magasevich are, back in 9th and 10th place in their Mercedeses. It's a tremendous battle for 5th place, although Schwari hasn't really shown Mark the nose yet. Mark getting a little bit weaving in some of these areas. I'm not sure what the deal with that is. And you can see that the Porsche of Markovic is definitely latching onto the back of this one. That C7 gets very wide in some of these turns. The door is open to Schwari if he wants to throw it down the inside in the BMW M6. We haven't seen a lot of the M6. We did see it have some success last season in the hands of Alex Hayes, though, so we know that it's a pretty quality car. Mark's pressure is let up a little bit as Schwari went a bit wide there and has fallen back into defending against Mark Minahan. Oh, Dule Markovic with a bit of an adventure across the grass and into the gravel trap. Has his car survived? Looks okay. Nothing too bad, but he has definitely lost spots to both Martel and Magasevich. In 11th place, it is still the Dutchman Mark Klapzul ahead of Dean Reimers, the Australian. And Jeff Crozier Kopman has parked the P45 competition zone. That car will be a developing process all season long, I think. A little bit too little is known about it, and Copperhead Competitions has their work cut out for themselves to get that car up to speed. Martin Lauer has started coming on to the attack here against Caleb Gonzalez, and he's gotten the lead now, heading into the hairpin at the end of this long straightaway. This is where the McLaren does suffer a lack of top-end grunt, and through goes Martin Lauer into the lead. Can he hold it, though? Because we know that the rules kind of reverse into turn 1. The McLaren is very solid into that area and can possibly hold a tighter line than the Audi R8. Gonzalez, the first Peruvian driver to start a zero race. And he's got the pressure on Martin Lauer, a man who was absolutely dominant towards the end of last season and is the preeminent favorite to take his first title here in the Saturday Series. Also has the support of the team Dynamo Links Racing, along with Dean Reimers in both the Wednesday and Saturday Series. Bit of an odd one that they have the same team dynamic in both series, driver-wise. Something that will probably become more common next season. Ben Schwarry has gotten up into 5th place, having passed Mike Mark, who is now under pressure from Mark Minahan, former teammates at the BMW factory team back in the DTM days. The Canadian Mike Mark and the Australian Mark Minahan. Ironically, not with the team anymore. Schwarry, who was a Audi factory driver, is now with the BMW crew, leading the MWL racing team. Dean Reimers catching up to Mark Klabzul. This is not for points, but it is for Silver Cup position, and it is for a grid spot in the next race, so it is still pretty important. Jeff Crosher, of course, in the pit lane. So back at the front, Caleb Gonzalez is back on the attack, and a very wide Martin Lauer has left it wide open, and easily through into the lead is Gonzalez. They're on lap 5, heading into lap 6. DeBonis and Stokes still easily in 3rd and 4th position. Should be mentioned, Schwarry is not pulling away from Mike Mark or Mark Minahan, so as much as we were suspecting Mike Mark was forming a solid train, it doesn't look like that it was simply a case of Schwarry just needing to get clear of him. He doesn't appear to be able to break the toe. Still a pretty important 5th place for the championship, for a championship contender in Schwarry that Mike Mark is not thought to be. He's thought to be a part-time entry here, and Mark Minahan is probably a little bit below that as well, although they are all gold-rated drivers. Magasevich being caught by the Porsche 911 of Dule Markovic, who's definitely got some pace. Gets a little bit out of control there, a little bit of a tank slapper. Klabzul still holding off Reimers further back. And Caleb Gonzalez is starting to sprint away again, so it's a bit odd that Lauer caught him in a period of about 2 laps there where just Lauer seemed to absolutely have the Peruvian's number, and now Gonzalez is starting to show him the back end. Again, I have to point out the tremendous amount of parity car-wise. The top 6 all represent different cars. It's only when you get down to 7th place Mark Minahan that you find a repeat in the number 44 Audi R8 second generation car, which is the same car as in 2nd place. Rick Martel still holding 8th place. Mike Magasevich under pressure from Dule Markovic, who's going down to the inside. This Porsche is easily able to hold tighter lines than the Mercedes. The Mercedes has a significant grunt advantage, and if Magasevich can keep the position heading into the long straightaways that finish off the lap, he should be able to hold. But he's got to really wrestle with the car up until then. A lot of Mercedes on the grid today. We have a total of 3 Mercedes AMG entries. 2 from The name is Lumi. Two from the Falcon Autosports crew, Stokes and Magasevich, and Martel, who's up ahead in the entry from Raptora Squadron with the Mercedes AMG. Also some pressure going on for 11th. Oh, Markovic got up into the back end of him a little bit. Can Magasevich get him on the switchback? And also, more importantly, did that damage Markovic's car in any way? He's had 2 rear-end collisions now, but it looks like the splitter and aerodynamics of the front end are still very much intact. Magasevich is going down the inside of him, but I think if we saw the earlier pass that Markovic made, turn 1 is not a place where Magasevich has any real play on him. Reimers being defended against by the Callaway C7 of Spitfire Racing's Mark Klapzul on loan from the MWL Racing Group until they can get the 2nd and 3rd BMWs ready for him and Alan Angel to rejoin, or him and Patrice Louisel to join the rest of the season. Gonzalez still in the lead, pretty comfortable right now with 2 laps to go. Lauer is starting to struggle a little bit on his tires, and it's allowing DeBonis to come into play. Wesley Stokes is largely alone in 4th place, doesn't really have much to play for in terms of striking for a podium unless someone makes a mistake. Ben Schwari is finally starting to get away from Mike Mark, who's eating a lot of pressure from that Audi R8 of Mark Minahan in the Gemini GT entry, the lone Gemini GT entry in this particular race, Mark Minahan. Minahan setting him up for an inside move, doesn't quite have it yet. Further back, it's still Rick Martel, Dule Markovic, and Mike Magasevich rounding off the points. By the way, Markovic, Magasevich, and Mark Klapzul here make the top 3 in the Silver Cup. Dean Reimers in 12th place in the race. And the retired Jeff Crosher has had his car dragged into the garage. We ride with Caleb Gonzalez, who's on his final lap and looking to take his first 0 victory. Getting a little bit wide there, but easily ahead of Martin Lauer. Alessio DeBonis, Wesley Stokes, nothing really going on. Schwari's pretty solid in 5th place as well. So the main fight is for 6th place between Mike Mark and Mark Minahan. Spitfire Racers versus Gemini GT Sport. Can the Audi find a way around the Corvette? Setting up for a move to the inside, then the outside, not really happening. These Corvette C7s have had a weird time with stability here at Sepang. Pretty much all the Spitfire Racing cars have had the similar problems. And Mark Minahan looking to take advantage. They have very much broken away from Rick Martel, who has now got to worry more about Dule Markovic than going forward. Meantime, heading around into the final sector of the track. Pressure still on from Minahan, but he has dropped back a little bit from the Canadian. Also, pretty spirited battle going on for 11th place as well. But it's not going to affect this man. Caleb Gonzalez takes his first victory in 0 racing. 2nd place will go to Martin Lauer, despite losing a lot of ground to Alessio DeBonis towards the end. DeBonis takes a podium as well. Wesley Stokes ran pretty much in 4th place all day. Takes a relatively uneventful but solid finishing result. Ben Schwari did get around Mike Mark. Will finish in 5th place ahead of Mike Mark and Mark Minahan, who will finish 6th and 7th. Rick Martel coming around to finish in 8th place. We will follow the Raptora squadron entry over the line and into a point scoring position, followed by the Silver Cup winner on the day, Dule Markovic, and then Mike Magasevich finishing in 10th place is the last points finisher ahead of Mark Klapzul, who does hold off Dean Reimers to the line in 11th place. Reimers in 12th. The grid will be reversed for the top 10 in race 2, with the pole position going to Mike Magasevich. We will see what happens. I think the danger man might be Dule Markovic, who will start on the front row in race 2, despite being, I think, one of the faster cars. Just a bit of bad luck and a bit of, admittedly, poor driving on the Serbian driver's part. A couple of collisions that probably could have been avoided. We will see you on race 2.